A girl with a face full of repulsive, pus-filled pimples is fought over by extremely handsome men with 120/100ths looks. It's not because they're blind or unafraid of death, but because every girl born here is assigned an unlimited number of male partners. However, the girl's poisonous pimples were so potent that out of 100 assigned males, 99 were poisoned to death. And the only survivor was left disabled. Her angry mother, leveraging her high status in the tribe's sacred hall, forcibly assigned her another 10 handsome males with strong poison resistance. Just when the girl thought she could finally experience love, her mother, because of a prophecy about her poisonous son, not only exiled her but also had her 5 male partners, at the cost of losing their powers, forcibly dissolved their marriage with her. This caused the girl's inner toxins to erupt, poisoning her to death. It was at this moment that Jiang Shi, a person who had died in a zombie apocalypse, transmigrated into her body. Right now, Jiang Shi, having absorbed the original owner's memories, is in a daze. What kind of bizarre transmigration is this? I just escaped one hell and entered another. Suddenly, there's a loud series of explosions outside. Jiang Shi opens the door in a daze, but her attention isn't on the colorful light bands in the sky. Instead, she's drawn to a young man kneeling in the snow. He's shirtless, showing his handsome muscular upper body. His pale skin is covered in purple-blue whip marks. Following the memories in her mind, Jiang Shi calls out his name, Lu Liufeng. Lu Liufeng's body stiffens, and he lowers his head even more. It's all Liufeng's fault. Please punish me, mistress. Jiang Shi recalls that the original owner not only had a terrible personality, but was also hideously ugly, covered in poisonous pimples from head to toe since childhood. Besides her mother, no one was willing to touch her, including her male partners. This led the original owner to frequently drug her partners, trying to force them to have sex with her, but she never succeeded. This time, the original owner had drugged her wolf tribe partner, Lu Liufeng, but he would rather die than touch her. In a fit of rage, the original owner made Lu Liufeng kneel in the snow and whipped him severely. Jiang Shi covers her face in shame. Just as she's about to say how absurd this world is, her fingers touch the bumps on her own face. She doesn't have time to check her condition. You get up first. Go inside and wipe your wounds. But when she says this, Lu Liufeng doesn't get up. His body tenses even more. Please punish me, mistress. Jiang Shi thinks for a moment and understands what he's worried about. She says helplessly, "Don't worry, I won't do anything to you," with the influx of memories. She also understands what the explosions and the flying, colorful light bands outside represent. The beastmen of the cursed land are fighting off a new wave of cursed beasts. This is the cursed land, where, as the name suggests, everything is cursed, including the beasts. Every time these cursed beasts die, they resurrect 3 days later to attack the cursed land again. The beastmen have used countless methods, but can't stop their resurrection. They can only organize beastmen to kill them every 3 days during the cursed beast tide. Is the mistress really willing to forgive Liufeng? Lu Liufeng looks up in disbelief. According to his past experience, if Jiang Shi had called him inside, it would only be to try and force him to do that kind of thing. Yes, Jiang Shi nods. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. I'm sorry about what happened today. I won't hit you again. She has no interest in tormenting people. Besides, she needs her remaining 5 male partners to protect her in the cursed land. Lu Liufeng's eyes change slightly. For the first time in his life, he has heard an apology from his mistress. As he hesitates, the courtyard gate creaks open, and a man covered in blood walks in. He has neat gray hair and very light gray-blue eyes. His brow ridge is sharp, and he has an intimidatingly cold demeanor. Zhang Zi is momentarily stunned. This is her other male partner, the wolf tribe beastman, Mu Lin. He used to be Jiang Shi's guard, and was forcibly taken to be her partner. When Mu Lin sees this scene in the courtyard, a flicker of disgust flashes in his eyes, but he quickly suppresses it. He knows that if Jiang Shi saw the disgust in his eyes, he would be the next one kneeling in the snow to be beaten. Mu Lin lowers his head. Mistress, the chief needs Lu Liufeng to scout outside the wall. He's hinting that he's giving Lu Liufeng an excuse to leave. In the past, the mistress would have screamed and cursed at the chief for daring to order her around. But this time, Jiang Shi doesn't hesitate. Go. Now it's Mu Lin's turn to be stunned. He looks up in disbelief, then quickly lowers his head. At this point, Jiang Shi walks over to Lu Liufeng and places her hand on his bare shoulder. Lu Liufeng and Mu Lin's hearts both sink. Sure enough, to be allowed to leave, even with the cursed beast tide as an excuse, they'll have to suffer a bit first. But in the next second, both of them freeze. A soft green light emanates from Jiang Shi's hand, and the whip marks on Lulu Feng's body slowly heal. While they don't completely disappear, they are mostly restored. Zhang Ji sways and, propping herself up, pulls her hand away. She had already realized that her healing ability from the apocalypse had also transmigrated with her, but the ability is very weak, almost at the level 1 stage when she first awakened it. Just simply healing a wound like this has exhausted her inner spiritual energy. The mistress's spiritual energy has recovered. Lu Feng asks in surprise. But this seems different from the mistress's spiritual energy before. In this world, females are born with spiritual energy and can soothe and heal a beastman's berserk powers through intimate contact. A small number of females can manifest their spiritual energy to heal physical injuries. These manifestors are called sacred females. Zhang Shi was once one of them. However, after her sacred mother's death, her manifested spiritual energy disappeared. This led to her being scorned by the holy city and exiled to the cursed land. Yes, Jiang Shi nods. It has recovered a little. Liu Feng needs to scout the cursed, beast-tied, and if he goes with all those wounds, something bad could happen. Jiang Xi has just arrived in this world, and her safety is still unknown. With one more person protecting her, she will be a little safer. All right, you guys go. I'll rest for a while. With that, Zhang Shi enters the room without waiting for their reaction. Once inside, she leans against the door and lets out a long sigh of relief. Transmigrating into a beastman world isn't scary. What's scary is that she has 10 male partners, and they come in all types and are all ridiculously handsome. Actually, transmigrating here isn't bad after all. Jiang Ji thinks beautifully before getting into bed to rest. She is really tired. On their way out, Mu Lin asks Lu Feng what happened just now. Lu Feng explains the situation, which seems no different from normal. Mu Lin's brows furrow. It seems nothing has changed. Maybe the mistress is just in a good mood, because her spiritual energy has recovered. The next morning, after sleeping for an entire day, Jiang Shi opens her door to a scene of white blood-like snow. The cold wind makes her shiver. The mistress is awake. Lu Feng's voice comes from the side. Jiang Shi looks over to see the handsome young man already cooking in the kitchen. Lu Feng is surrounded by a hazy white mist, looking elegant and otherworldly. Jiang Shi avoids looking at him, and with a muffled sound, she walks over and scoops some water into a stone basin to wash her face. At the same time, she catches a glimpse of her face in the rippling water. It's a face full of uneven, black bumps. Jiang Shi feels so nauseous she wants to throw up. No wonder no one was willing to get close to her. At that moment, a stream of hot water is poured into the basin from the side. Lu Feng's voice comes from above. Mistress, the weather is cold and the water is frigid. Let me add some hot water for you. Jiang Shi swallows the saliva produced by the nausea. She doesn't look up, afraid of grossing him out. Thank you. Hearing her words, Lu Feng's body tenses slightly, and he says awkwardly, it's what Liu Feng should do. Jiang Shi rolls up the bee skin on her sleeve and discovers that her arm is also covered in the same bumpy black lumps. They look like they've peeled and regrown repeatedly. Jiang Shi squats by the stone basin and, after some thought, places the palm of her right hand on the back of her left hand. The soft green light reappears. After a night's rest, her ability has been fully replenished. Although she doesn't know why, she wants to see if it works. Soon, a tingling sensation spreads across the back of her hand. The next second, Jiang Shi sees a black liquid ooze from the back of her hand. As it flows down her fingertips to the ground, it makes a puff sound, and a wisp of black smoke appears. Jiang Shi stops and looks at the back of her hand. She finds that the black bumps are visibly smaller. Her eyes light up. It works! Lu Feng hears the puff sound and quickly walks over to ask, Mistress, what happened? He then sees the black spot on the ground and the remaining black liquid on the mistress's hand. His eyes widen in disbelief as he looks at Jiang Shi. Mistress, this is... Jiang Shi says casually, it's nothing, just a small experiment. Lu Feng presses his lips together and doesn't ask any more questions. But as he stirs the pot of gruel, he can't help but glance in the mistress's direction from time to time. By the stone basin, Jiang Shi puts her hand back in the water. The soft green light appears again. She has infused the water with her healing ability. Then, she takes a deep breath, holds it, and submerges her face in the water. A tingling sensation spreads across her face. Jiang Shi only takes her face out of the water when she can no longer hold her breath. Sure enough, the water in the stone basin has turned black. Moreover, this hydrotherapy method covers a larger area and consumes less spiritual energy. Jiang Xi's expression brightens, but looking at the pitch-black water, she falls into silence. It seems there's a lot of black liquid in her body. The stone basin is too heavy. She tries to lift it, but can't. She can only ask Lu Liufeng for help. Lu Liufeng, can you help me dump this water outside? Don't dump it inside. Zhang Shi is afraid of poisoning everyone to death. Lu Liufeng walks over and easily picks up the stone basin. Zhang Shi looks at him enviously and then quickly reminds him, be careful, don't let the water splash on you. It might burn you, Lu Liufeng says. Softly. He feels like he's dreaming. He never thought the mistress would become so gentle. As Zhang Shi watches him go to the backyard, she hears a door open behind her. She turns around and sees a man with white hair and blue eyes, and an exquisite face walking in. This is Zhang Shi's Snow Fox beastman partner, Ye Yexi. He is a famous beauty in the Holy City, for whom countless females fought, even to the point of violence. In the end, he was pressured by Jiang Zi's sacred mother and was forced to marry her. Yexi has never paid attention to Zhang Shi since they married, and makes no effort to hide his disgust and repulsion towards her. But the more he pushed her away, the more the original owner seemed to like him. He was like a trophy for the original owner to show off, and just looking at him was pleasing to the eye. Yexi casts a disdainful glance at her with his upturned fox eyes, then walks straight into his room, slamming the door shut. Seeing him ignore her, Jiang Shi actually feels relieved. Lu Liufeng, who has just dumped the water, also sees this scene. He worries that the mistress will lose her temper and proactively explains for Ye Yizhou he was injured last night and was being treated in the apothecary, so he just got back. Lu Liufeng had told Ye Yexi the night before that the mistress's spiritual energy had recovered and manifested, and that he should come back and ask the mistress for healing, because it would work better than any herbal medicine. But Ye Yexi grit his teeth and said, I would rather die than beg her. Jiang Shi sees the flicker in Lu Liufeng's beautiful eyes and guesses Ye Yexi's unwillingness. She nods and doesn't force it. Let's eat. I'm so hungry. Before they eat, Mu Lin comes back carrying firewood. His beast skin is half rolled up, exposing half of his muscular upper body. Even in the snowy cold, fine beads of sweat are on his tan skin, making him look very sexy. Zhang Shi takes a quick glance and then quickly looks away. Lu Liufeng scoops the cooked food into several large wooden bowls. It's a sticky gruel that's hard to identify. Mu Lin puts down the firewood, casually wipes the sweat from his body, and sits by the fire. There's no table in the kitchen, so everyone sits around the fire. The closed door blocks the cold air outside and also makes the atmosphere inside the kitchen strange. Everyone eats from their own bowl because the mistress would never eat with them here. She always insisted that her food be brought to her room. Lu Liufeng awkwardly adds a log to the fire. Mu Lin doesn't look at the mistress at all and eats from his bowl very quickly. Jiang Shi looks at the blob of unidentified gruel in her bowl and scoops a spoonful with the large wooden spoon. As soon as she puts it in her mouth, her brows furrow. It's so delicious. Just kidding, it's so terrible. What is this stuff? It has an earthy taste mixed with a meaty stench. After one mouthful, she almost gags and throws up. Lu Liufeng sees her reaction and feels a bit embarrassed. He says, Mistress, there was a beast tied last night, and we haven't had time to hunt in the mountains yet. I'm sorry that you have to eat this gruel with us. Mu Lin has already finished his first bowl and is scooping his second one. Seeing Lu Liufeng's fawning attitude, he can't help but say, Mistress, there's not much prey in the mountains during the winter. Many families in the tribe don't have enough to eat. Please don't be so picky. Jiang Shi presses her lips together. She's not picky, but this is really too disgusting. Mu Lin, Lu Liufeng quickly calls out his name, telling him not to say any more to avoid angering the mistress and getting punished. Mu Lin's sharp brow ridge tightens, but he doesn't back down. The mistress can be picky in spring, summer, and fall, but it's a winter wonderland out there. How can we possibly hunt for prey, Lu Liufeng, if you say that, can you guarantee we'll find prey today? I've said my piece. The mistress can beat me or scold me as she wishes. Jiang Shi is silent for a moment, then looks at Mu Lin. I won't hit you. I won't hit any of you anymore. I'll also figure out a solution for the food, and I won't let you bear the burden alone. Jiang Shi looks at both of them. I know you all want to dissolve your marriage with me as long as we can find a golden soul fruit. I'll cooperate with you to dissolve our marriage. The golden soul fruit is the method she found in her memories. But even with a golden soul fruit, the mistress must willingly agree to dissolve the marriage. Quote, in order to minimize the harm to the male partners. When they heard this, Lu Liufeng and Mu Lin both froze. Although Lu Liufeng knew that the mistress had changed a lot, he never thought she would be willing to dissolve their marriage. Lu Liufeng had been taught since childhood to obey the mistress. He wasn't like other beastmen who could return to their families even if they dissolved their marriage. If he were to be abandoned by the mistress, he wouldn't be able to return to the Eagle tribe and would become a joke. Although Mu Lin was surprised by the mistress's change, he cherished this opportunity to leave her even more. Thank you, mistress. If Mu Lin can find the golden soul fruit, I hope you won't forget what you said today. Until I find the golden soul fruit, Mulin is still your partner. I will provide for you. You can beat me or scold me, but as long as it's not intimate contact, I'll do anything. He was a traditional beast man. Once he committed, it was for life. Before he found his fated female, he would never let any female touch him. So even though he was forced to marry Jiang Shi, he always kept his distance. Dissolving his marriage with Jiang Shi and finding his fated female was his long-held wish. Jiang Shi nodded. Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. Thinking about the part where he said she could beat and scold him, she reiterated, I won't hit you anymore. I won't hit any of you. Mulin's eyes, however, showed a hint of a sarcastic smile. He had been the mistress's guard since he was a child and was accustomed to her evil deeds. He would never believe she could change. Only a fool like Lu Lifeng would believe the mistress could turn over a new leaf. After Jiang Shi made things clear, she felt a sense of relief, but the food in front of her was simply too disgusting. No matter how much she told herself she had to eat some, she couldn't swallow it. Right now, besides the poisonous pimples on her body, the most important thing was to improve their diet. She looked at Lu Lifeng, the only partner who seemed gentle and kind. After we finish eating, can you come to the mountains with me? I want to see what we can find to eat. Lu Lifeng was stunned. Yes, I can, but there's no need for the mistress to go to the mountains. Mulin chimed in. It's our duty to find food. If the mistress goes to the mountains to find food herself, won't people look down on us as your partners? Jiang Shi was speechless. She couldn't help but say, well, this food is so disgusting that I can't eat it. Mulin frowned and gritted his teeth. Sure enough, she's still the same old Jiang Shi who doesn't care about others' lives. Lu Lifeng quickly tried to ease the tension. I was going to go to the mountains to hunt anyway. I'll take the mistress with me. It's been a long time since the mistress has been out. You can go see the snowy scenery. Jiang Shi thought, thank goodness for Lu Lifeng after the meal. Lu Lifeng packed a basket and a food sack and took the mistress out. He was worried that she wouldn't want to walk the part of the journey through the tribe, so he explained, Mistress, in order to prevent beastmen's beast forms from damaging the houses, there's a tribal rule that we can only transform into our beast forms once we're outside the tribe. So please walk with me for a little bit, and we'll be out of the tribe soon. Jiang Shi nodded, indicating she understood. Lu Lifeng walked ahead and turned a corner. Before Jiang Shi could turn the corner, she heard a sweet voice. Brother Lifeng, your powers were so berserk last night. Have you not had them soothed in a while? With Jiang Shi looking like that, how could you possibly soothe them? Come to my place. I'll help you soothe them. My partners are all out hunting. Jiang Shi turned the corner, and it was too late to back away. A cute female with wheat-colored skin and black hair, wrapped in a beast hide, was standing behind her tattered fence. She was holding a little yellow lion in her arms and looking at Lu Lifeng with teary eyes. Jiang Shi silently appeared in the female's line of sight. Before she could decide whether to pretend she didn't see her, the female screamed and, clutching the little lion, ran back into her house and slammed the door shut. Jiang Shi touched the beast hide mask on her face. It's covering my face perfectly. Is it that scary? She searched her memories but couldn't find a specific incident. There were simply too many females that the original owner had argued with. She had cursed almost every female in the tribe, accused them of trying to steal her partners, pulled their hair, pushed them into the water, and burned their beast hides, and so on. She could only assume this was one of the females who had been berated by the original owner. Mistress! Lu Lifeng's eyes flashed with panic. He quickly explained, please believe me, I have nothing to do with her. I've never had my powers soothed by her or any other female. None of the mistress's partners have ever had their powers soothed. Jiang Shi coughed. It's okay, you don't have to tell me this. After all, I've already promised you. As long as you can find the golden soul fruit, I'm willing to cooperate with you to dissolve our marriage, right? So if you have a female you like, feel free to develop a relationship with her. I won't say anything and I won't blame you. It's not cheating, Jiang Shi thought honestly. Her clear, black eyes were spotless. With that, she continued walking. Lu Lifeng looked at her back in a daze, feeling a bit lost and helpless. The mistress seems to be serious this time. He quickly caught up to her. After turning a few more corners, they ran into a few energetic young beastmen. As soon as they saw Jiang Shi, they covered their faces, squeezed together, and ran past them. As they ran away, they could hear muffled whispers. Hurry, hurry! We can't let her see our handsome faces. Exactly! What if she falls in love with me and forces me to marry her? In the cursed land, there were no sacred females or sacred females. Even ordinary females were very rare. It was normal for one female to have over 10 male partners. Jiang Shi was the only one who had been exiled for half a year and had her number of partners not increase but decrease. Lu Lifeng quickly said, Mistress, don't be angry. They're just some newly transformed young beastmen who don't know any better. They might not even find a female to marry later. There were many single beastmen in the Cursed Land. Plus, unlike the Holy City, there is no holy temple to soothe them. Their final fate was one of two things. Either they would go berserk because their powers couldn't be soothed, or they would be corrupted by the curse and become lifeless creatures or self-destruct. Jiang Ji said N to show she wasn't angry. She wasn't that desperate to have any beastmen she saw. However, it did remind her of the furry little animals in the tribe. They were the little beastmen who hadn't transformed yet. Little beastmen would only transform into beastmen after they came of age. Lu Liufeng carefully observed the mistress. When he didn't see any anger in her clear black eyes, he let out a sigh of relief. They made their way out of the tribe without any issues. Once outside, Lu Liufeng unfurled his back, revealing huge wings with black feathers and amber-colored tips, which were very beautiful. Other than that, his appearance hadn't changed much. His hair was still long, his skin was pale, and his amber eyes were clear and gentle. Jiang Ji's eyes lit up. This transformation was simply too cool. He grew a pair of wings out of thin air, and his beast hide didn't even rip. She looked curiously at Lu Liufeng's back. The beast hide had an opening where the wings came out, and she could faintly see his pale skin. Lu Liufeng's wings drooped slightly, shyly, covering the exposed skin. Even though the mistress knew, when he saw the curiosity in her eyes, he explained, "This is my half-beast man form. It's suitable for short-distance flights. For long-distance flights, I have to fully transform into my eagle form, or I won't be able to handle it." Jiang Ji's eyes shone as she nodded. Her hands were itching to touch his beautiful feathers, but she held herself back, thinking that they would soon be divorcing. "Mistress, Li Feng will take you up the mountain," Lu Liufeng said, bowing slightly. "Forgive me." With that, he picked her up and, with a flap of his wings, soared into the sky. Jiang Ji gasped. The feeling of weightlessness made her instinctively wrap her arms around Lu Liufeng's neck. The cold air rushed at her from all directions, and her view suddenly widened. The tribe below became smaller and smaller, and a towering reddish-brown wall appeared before her eyes. The wall stretched along the forest in both directions, its end nowhere in sight. At the foot of the high wall was a huge gap that had been filled with black wood. As her view rose even higher, Jiang Ji saw the cursed land outside the Wall of Guardians. She stared in a daze, too shocked to think. It was a deep red and pitch-black land, as if a river of black blood was flowing across it. Even with the sun in the sky, a huge red moon hung at the end of the cursed land. Or rather, the moon was stained red by the cursed land, because in Jiang Ji's memories, the moon in the holy city was pure white and sacred, unlike the bloody and cracked red moon of the cursed land, which dyed the earth red at night. The feeling of being suspended in the air made Jiang Ji unconsciously hold on to Lu Liufeng tightly. The warm breath from her beast hide mask sprayed onto the young man's neck, quickly turning a patch of his skin black. Jiang Ji didn't notice, her attention completely drawn to the view of the land from the sky. This feeling of being in the air was simply amazing. Lu Liufeng flew for a long time, finally stopping on a snowy mountain with many exposed boulders. Thick snow still clung to the boulders, but there were also some clumps of bushes. Half of them were lush and green, while the other half were withered branches and white snow, creating a spectacular sight. Jiang Ji was a bit surprised, but after they landed, she understood why. Her view had been limited from the air, and she hadn't seen the large and small ponds hidden among the boulders. The spectacular vegetation grew on the edges of these ponds. Hot and cold air mixed together, and a white mist hung over the ponds. It was a geothermal hot spring. The skin behind Lu Liufeng's ears was still bright red. When he saw that the mistress's attention was drawn to the warm springs, he said, "Mistress, there are warm springs here. You can rest and wash here. Liufeng will go hunting nearby." Jiang Ji was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. "You really think I came here to see the snow and have fun?" Jiang Ji's face was covered by the beast hide mask, and her bangs hit her forehead. When she laughed, her big, bright eyes were beautiful, making people unconsciously ignore the terrible skin on the sides of her eyes. Lu Liufeng stared at the mistress's eyes in a daze, and the skin behind his ears became even redder. Were the mistress's eyes always this beautiful? He had been with the mistress for half a year, and knew what kind of ugly face was under the mask without even lifting it. But for the first time, he had the illusion that the mistress was beautiful. Of course, Jiang Ji wanted to soak in the hot springs, but she didn't forget the main purpose of their trip. "Let's go hunting and gather food first. If we have time, we can come back and soak in the hot springs." Hot springs? Lu Liufeng was confused for a moment, but quickly accepted the description. Hot springs? did seem more fitting than warm springs, but Lu Lufeng looked at the mistress's delicate body wrapped in beast hide and couldn't help but continue to persuade her. Mistress, why don't you wait for me here? The prey in winter are cunning, and I'm worried that I won't be able to look after you. Zhang Xi waved her hand. It's fine. She thought he was worried she would be a bother. You do your hunting, and I'll find my own food. I'm looking for some edible things that grow in the soil or on trees. In the soil? Lu Lufeng was even more confused. In this season, everything was withered. How could she find food other than wild animals? Oh, just let me look. Zhang Xi saw that he was still unwilling, and her voice unconsciously took on a slightly pleading tone. You can hunt nearby, and I'll just look around here. I won't go too far, and I won't interfere with your hunting. Lu Lifeng had never heard such a sound before, and his face turned even redder. Zhang Xi saw his pale face suddenly turn red and was a bit worried. Are you okay? Why is your face so red? Is it too hot on the hot spring mountain? Although she didn't know much about beastmen, she guessed that they probably still had some of the living habits and preferences of animals. Constant temperature, cold-blooded, and tropical animals all had their own characteristics. She thought that an Eagle Tribe beastman with feathers like Lu Liaofeng wouldn't like hot environments. Lu Liaofeng quickly lowered his head. No, it's not. Let's go to the hot river valley. It's safer there. Jiang Shi, who didn't know anything, naturally agreed. The hot river valley was very close to the hot spring mountain. Or rather, they were the same mountain, just one was the ridge and the other was the valley. The temperature in the valley was much higher than on the mountain ridge. Here, there was no snow. Everything was bursting with life. There were even insects singing, and yelled Emmy and Jiang Shi observed the valley, which looked like a tropical jungle. She thought, isn't this the perfect environment for hunting? Many animals would surely come here to take refuge from the cold winter. How could I worry about the lack of prey? Zhang Xi felt a buzzing in her mind. She knew why, but very soon. Lu Liaofeng shouted towards a place covered in vines. Zhang Xi, if the female wants to look for something in the valley, stay alert. I'll go hunt in the snowy mountains. I'll be back soon. Zhang Xi felt a buzzing in her mind. The corresponding memories surfaced in an instant. Duan Sai, her snake tribe beastman husband and a huge black python, had been the strongest fighter in the sacred city's underground combat arena. He had originally saved enough money to buy his freedom, but the day before his redemption, she saw him and forced him to marry her as a beastman husband. That's why Duan Sai hated her deeply and even attacked her after the marriage. If it weren't for the reaction of the marriage contract, Zhang Xi probably would have already blossomed 3 times in summer. It would be 3 already. The rustling of scales rubbing against leaves echoed. Zhang Xi's skin suddenly went numb. She stood rigid, not daring to move. Zhang Xi's skin crawled instantly, but through the trees and bushes she spotted numerous snakes of various colors. Large snakeheads emerged, with scarlet tongues flickering not far away. A red python transformed into a demonic-looking young man who had red hair and golden eyes. He crossed his arms, leaning against the trunk. A pair of golden snake pupils scrutinized Zhang Xi from head to toe. Then he spoke towards the thick vines. Duan Sai, your sacred female has arrived. Snake men are cold-blooded. They prefer warm environments. In winter, they enter forced hibernation. Compared to pure beast snakes, when snake men hibernate, their supernatural powers enter a violent state, making it easy for them to die. That's why most snake beastmen live in warm regions to avoid hibernation. Jiang Xi looked up, her gaze pleading towards Lu Liaofeng, almost wanting to cry. Let me go with you. Don't leave me alone among the snakes. Although she knew that beastmen in this world cannot harm females, seeing those huge and terrifying snakes, she couldn't help but feel scared. Lu Liaofeng shook his head firmly. 2 days ago, I spotted a wild boar. Taking the sacred female would be too dangerous. He looked at the motionless pile of vines and sighed. Apparently, Duan Sai still doesn't want to see the sacred female. Lu Liaofeng wanted Duan Sai to see the recent changes in the sacred female to help soften the relationship between them. Besides, the winter in the Cursed Land is too hard to bear. If the tribe really can't hold out, we can also make the sacred female live in the warm valley. Don't worry, sacred female, the warm valley is very safe. What this sacred female is looking for can only be found in the warm valley this season. After Lu Liaofeng finished explaining and set a time to pick her up, he glanced at the sky. Lu Liaofeng! Zhang Xi raised her head and called to him instinctively, taking 2 steps forward, but Lu Liaofeng was in the sky, and she was in the valley. She could only watch helplessly as Lu Liaofeng's body grew smaller and smaller in the sky. Lu Liaofeng's voice came from above. Lu Liufeng will be back soon. Jiang Shi felt a bit disheartened, maybe because the first person she saw when she opened her eyes was Lu Liufeng. Or perhaps because the young man had an overly gentle temperament, which made her instinctively depend on him. Jiang Shi felt that she couldn't continue like this. Lu Liufeng is right. Taking her to hunt wild boars is too dangerous, climbing up her leather pants. The food she was looking for instinctively recoiled. Jiang Shi quickly identified a type of tuber. Jiang Shi made up her mind. The usually calm Valley's sense of restriction made her slowly lower her head. Two small green snakes were hissing and showing their forked tongues menacingly as they climbed up her leather pants. Jiang Shi's heart stopped. She instinctively recoiled and fell seated on the gravel. She screamed, breaking the usual calm of the warm valley, bringing a sudden commotion. A snake tribe beastman, who was about to leave, grabbed a green snake in each hand. "Get down! I'm holding you in the air!" With an embarrassed face, he said, "How dare you two little ones disobey me?" The two small green snakes writhed in the air, flicking their forked tongues, still trying to get closer to the female on the ground. The man pinched the two little ones. "Hurry and apologize!" The two small green snakes mumbled. "So tasty, so tasty. Sacred female smells so good." These little ones almost made the man lose face. "Don't yell like that. She is Duanxi's female master, not your mistress. You two insignificant little frogs. You can't even take human form. They were only thinking about claiming their female. You can't call another sacred female that." Jiang Shi caught her breath, repeating to herself, "All the snakes here are humanoid beasts. Humanoid beasts can all take human form. Everything is fine." Jiang Shi held her heart, which almost jumped out of her chest from the fright. She tried to get up, but when she put her hands down, the gravel shifted and she touched icy scales. Jiang Shi's heart stopped. She almost shouted again. She slowly turned her head, and in her sight were shiny red scales. His red tail helped her get up from the ground. Once stable, Jiang Shi looked forward. It was the one who was initially crossing his arms, leaning against the tree. As the distance was much shorter now, Jiang Shi could clearly see his bare muscular torso. He also had defined abs and an attractive line without scales at his waist. Jiang Shi quickly apologized and looked away. Aside from the red snake young man, the green snake man in front of her was also bare-chested. Jiang Shi had never in her life seen such a scene. Once stable, she quickly and shamefully walked away. "I'll go to the forest to look for plants first. Don't worry about me." The reason she didn't mention that she was looking for food was out of fear that these beastmen would force her to sit down and eat. Thinking about eating among a group of semi-naked beastmen, Jiang Shi's heart raced. The green snake man saw the female enter the forest and gave a curious look to the red snake young man, Nakan. "Are you in heat? It shouldn't be like that. It's winter now." Nakan hadn't even spoken when a whispering, rustling sound came from the vine-covered area. A pair of scarlet serpentine eyes emerged from the vines. They only took a glance at the beastmen in the valley before disappearing back into the vegetation. But that single glance made the beastmen in the valley feel a violent agitation in their supernatural abilities. The green snake man frowned. "Duanxi, your powers are getting more and more out of control. Your sacred female has come to the valley to see you. Now is the time to calm your abilities. Don't keep resisting." A group of beastmen from the Lion Roar tribe returned and knew that Duanxi and the sacred female had a bad relationship. They had also heard about the terrible deeds of that sacred female. But now, seeing her, she didn't seem as hateful as they said. Beastmen who fall into the cursed land must be content with any female who accepts them. How could he afford to be picky? Once a supernatural power enters a disturbance, if it is not calmed for a long time, they will gradually lose their reason and finally explode and die. A long time passed since the green snake man gave his warning, but there was no movement from the cave behind the vines. Nakan remained at the edge of the valley, one hand on his chin. "Don't you feel something strange? The spiritual power of Duanxi's sacred female is peculiar and..." Gifu was the green snake man. His face instantly flushed. "What are you saying? You're not his beastman husband. How would you know what her spiritual power is like? Stop talking nonsense. If you really like her, you must court her and ask for her hand in marriage seriously. Don't imitate those libertine beasts in the cursed land who only seek to seduce other people's females." Nakan scratched his head, embarrassed. "That's not what I meant. What I mean is, I feel a strange sensation." Chifu still hadn't returned. The two small green snakes coiled around his neck shouted in childish voices, "Smells good! The female smells good! The chicken smells delicious!" Chifu frowned and grabbed the two little ones. "You need to be taught a lesson." After Jiang Shi entered the forest, She had no time to think about the previous scene because she found wood ears all over the tree. She didn't immediately collect them, but first went through the forest. In the vicinity, she found purslane, shepherd's purse, wild potatoes and taro, and even pepper trees, chiles, and ginger. There were also wild grapes. Jiangxi's eyes shone. This is a true wild treasure. It's not that she didn't know, but for 10 years, food was scarce. Anything edible on the mountain, anything edible in Xi'an, she had tasted them all. The foods she knew were naturally many. Jiangxi was excited. When Lu Liafeng left, he left her the bamboo basket. She ran through the forest like a rabbit, but soon the basket became too heavy. She could only place 2 on the ground. To make up for her luck, she carried things from one side to the other. Jiangxi rested for a while. In addition to wood ears, potatoes, taro, and ginger, she picked a little of everything, completely filling her back basket. Jiangxi rested for a while, preparing to look for a stick to unearth tubers like potatoes. But she barely lowered her head for 2 seconds when she suddenly noticed the air around her, except for the one that came directly. A creeping hiss echoed through the trees. Black scales appeared before her eyes. Jiangxi perceived the danger, turned her head quickly, and saw a huge black snake head with scarlet vertical pupils appearing abruptly in front of her. She detected the murderous intention in those pupils and, without thinking, shouted for help. She instinctively raised her hands to protect herself while fleeing blindly into the forest, but in the next instant, black scales appeared before her eyes and she was caught in the snake's tail. The serpentine body was colossal, its size crushing. Jiangxi didn't even have a chance to escape. She could only watch helplessly as the huge head opened its jaws, flicking its scarlet tongue towards her. By instinct, she raised her hands to protect herself. An emerald green glow lit up her palms, and her hands collided with the forked tongue. Then the open jaws of the snake's head slowly closed. The snake's scarlet pupils also gradually became glassy. The huge black snake remained motionless, paralyzed in its place. When Jifu and Nakan arrived, what they saw was this scene of the manifestation of the sacred female's spiritual power. A beastman exclaimed in awe, "It's a blessed sacred female. How can there be a sacred female in the cursed land?" The beastmen of the Lion Roar tribe next to him were also stunned. Didn't they say her manifest spiritual power had disappeared, which is why she was exiled to the cursed land? How is that possible? But blessed sacred females are even more valuable. Even if they committed the worst mistakes, they would never be exiled to the cursed land. Jiangxi remained still in her place. Following her instinct, she closed her eyes. Her previously dark vision suddenly widened. Her consciousness entered the sea of power of the black snake without any obstacle. She saw a vast, dark ocean. Above the ocean were furious winds, torrential rains, and giant waves. This scene stopped instantly. The moment Jiangxi entered, the darkness began to expand. The raging waves gradually calmed upon touching this light. What is she doing? Duanxi doesn't seem to be hurt. Duanxi's violent powers seem to have calmed down quite a bit. The manifestation of a sacred female's spiritual power isn't supposed to use the temple's guide stone. That's the only way she could command the sea of abilities from the outside. Even a sacred female needs the guide stone, no? Jiangxi was immersed in the sea of energies, unable to hear the external sounds. Her healing power sailed through the black ocean without feeling any difficulty, rather, with great joy. But as time passed, she began to feel a growing pressure that made her feel that if she continued, she would explode. Jiangxi quickly controlled her special energy and slowly retreated. As soon as she withdrew her power, she stumbled and took a step back, leaning against the huge body of a snake. At the same time, she felt her body, wrapped in beast hides, was soaked in a viscous liquid. She also perceived that her healing ability had reached level 2. The huge snake head slowly descended. The black snake lost consciousness and collapsed. Only then did she recognize that this gigantic black snake was Duanxi, her snake tribe beastman husband, the underground fighter who for years lived on the edge of death. She felt a mix of fear and other emotions. She didn't expect Duanxi to hate her so much. It should be remembered that if the sacred female dies, the beastman husbands perish with her. Duanxi was seeking mutual destruction. At that moment, a youthful voice echoed from behind the serpentine body. "Duanxi, sacred female, are you okay?" The great snake. Jiangxi was surrounded in the center. It was impossible to see what she looked like inside. Nakan confirmed that Duanxi was unconscious. He leaned forward, subconsciously wanting to get closer to hug the female trapped in the coils of the snake. But he remembered Jifu's words, so he asked, "Can I take you out in my arms?" He quickly extended his hand to her. Nakan carefully leaned over, avoiding his body from touching Duanxi so his not to trigger his attack instinct. Jiang Shi was as light as a feather. He hugged her gently and took her out. "Thank you." Outside the circle, Jiang Shi quickly jumped out of his arms. She didn't have time to feel embarrassed because she was once again surrounded by the snake men. This time, the beast men were in human form, all with bare torsos and defined muscles, making her not know where to look. Jiang Shi couldn't help but take a step back. Her back hit the cold snake body, and she quickly moved away. She felt sticky and extremely uncomfortable. A slight smell could be perceived in her nose. If it weren't for the thick beast hides covering her, the smell would have spread completely. No matter how much she tried to endure, Jiang Shi couldn't stand smelling bad all day. She looked at the red-haired young man. "Is there any place to bathe here?" "Bathe?" Nakan looked at her in confusion. After thinking for a moment, he deduced that she meant to wash herself. It was probably a term used in big cities like the Sacred City. Yes, I'll take you there. My name is Nakan. I'm from the Constrictor Snake Tribe." The bachelors of the Constrictor Snake Tribe looked at her with envy. Jiang Shi followed Nakan. Since the female had said she was going to bathe, she didn't receive any invitation. The other beastmen couldn't accompany her. The bachelor beastmen looked at each other. Finally, all eyes fell on the basket full of unknown plants on the ground. A beastman coughed and spoke with awkward evasiveness. "I'm leaving first." But he didn't really leave. He went into the forest and began to collect the plants in the basket. The other beastmen also dispersed, stealthily entering the forest with the same goal. When they occasionally bumped into others, they pretended it was casual. Nakan led the way with a racing heart. A female had invited him to bathe, and she was a sacred female. After bathing, he could propose to her. After the proposal, they would sign the marriage contract. Jiang Shi knew nothing of this. She just wanted to clean herself. As the stench from her beast hide was getting stronger and stronger, she was afraid that Nakan would notice, so she kept a certain distance from him. Jiang Shi looked at him, not understanding. There were 4 or 5 pools of different sizes. Nakan, seeing the pools, came back to his senses from his daydream, annoyed that he hadn't shown off on the way and hadn't managed to learn more about his female master. Jiang Shi also saw the pools behind the trees. The privacy was better than she thought. She quickly said, thank you, no problem." Nakan turned red as a tomato, but with his red hair and tail, it wasn't very obvious. Instead, he took on a more mysterious aura. He had never bathed with a woman. He took a deep breath, about to confess. No, I won't go with you." Hearing this, Nakan looked up in surprise. "Ah?" Jiang Shi looked at him confused, not understanding. Nakan, inexperienced, didn't know what it meant for a female to invite him to bathe and then reject him. What did she mean? He wanted to ask, but didn't dare. He might bother the female. He had no choice but to leave, head bowed. She still hadn't started rubbing her body because her mind was only filled with the desire to bathe. The hot spring water flowed constantly. She assumed she would have to get rid of a lot of things. The smaller belly was much smaller. Then, she peeled off the beast hide and rubbed it to clean it. She threw it on a hot stone to evaporate the moisture. The warm, hot springs enveloped her. She hadn't even started to rub her body, but the water in the pool turned black. After Jiang Shi took off the beast hide, she saw the black bumps on her skin. To her surprise, they had diminished considerably. It was because she had just improved her special abilities. She had expelled part of the poison. The first, belly was so black it was disgusting to look at, so she changed it. For a clean one, she released her healing power underwater. Then, she held her breath and submerged completely. Instantly, a familiar tingling sensation ran through her entire body. After holding her breath several times, she changed position and repeated the process of releasing her healing power and holding her breath. She did it 3 times, healing 3 dark spots in a row. For the last screw, she no longer used her healing power. She began to wash her hair. It was tangled and itchy. She tried to grab it several times without success. She was worried about what to do. Suddenly, she felt a gaze fall on her. Jiang Shi quickly turned her head. Then she saw a young man with black hair and red eyes. He was bare-chested with defined muscles, standing among the trees. He was a young man of exceptional appearance, but with a cold aura. She let out a gasp. Ah! At the same time, she recognized who he was. Jiang Shi's eyes widened. She shrank underwater. How had Duanxi woken up so fast? She perceived it, but couldn't manage to say the word stop. A black shadow passed swiftly before her eyes. Her mouth was covered, and then he frowned at what he saw. It was as cold as himself. Jiang Shi quickly felt like a chick pecking. Although she didn't understand how Duanxi had woken up so fast, she perceived that there was no intention to kill her in his gaze. That meant they could negotiate. Duanxi sniffed slightly and then frowned. What he saw was clearly a dark figure, but his nostrils caught an enveloping scent. Duanxi let her go, crossed his arms, and stepped back. Jiang Xi turned to him, her gaze briefly stopping on his defined abs. Then she noticed her own exposed skin and quickly shrank into the water. Although her current body had nothing remarkable, she still couldn't be completely naked in front of the beastmen. Jiang Xi looked at him and asked. The other party did not respond quickly. She repeated what she had already told Lu Feng and Mu Lin. As long as you find the golden soul fruit, I agree to annul the marriage contract. He listened to her words. Duan Si just fixed his red pupils on her with a somber expression. A moment later, his thin lips parted. Jiang Xi's heart instantly stopped. A chill ran down her spine. I don't understand what you're saying, she denied. Duan Si gave a cold smile. I don't care who you are. The golden soul fruit. I'll bring them after the beginning of spring. You'd better keep your word. Otherwise, he didn't say the words that followed, but Jiang Xi understood. Otherwise, he'll commit suicide, die together. Truly a lunatic. Jiang Xi sank even further into the water, as if only then would she be safe enough. Understood. I want to bathe. You can leave. Duan Si turned around, his black hair falling over his broad back. Seeing that smooth and silky hair, Jiang Xi almost lost her mind. Her mouth spoke without thinking. She shouted it. Duan Si turned his head, his somber expression darkening even more. Jiang Xi, with her heart in her hands, responded. Jiang Xi stammered. What do you use for your hair? What do you use for your hair? Can I borrow it? My hair is all tangled. Duan Si didn't respond. He simply turned and left. Jiang Xi also didn't know if he had agreed or not. Remembering that unfriendly face, as if she owed him $1,000,000, she raised her hand and gave him the middle finger behind his back. How arrogant you are! But the middle finger hadn't been released yet, when several objects whizzed toward her from the forest. Jiang Xi quickly submerged herself in the water. When she came out and merged again, she saw 3 or 4 floating pods the size of a fist. Her hazy memories told her that this could be used to wash hair. The pods were not as effective as shampoo or soap, but they were much better than just using water. Jiang Xi rubbed and washed her hair several times until the black pools gradually cleared. Finally, her hair was untangled. Even if it wasn't to remove the toxins from her body, she felt as if she had washed off tons of dirt. The beast hide was already on the hot stone, and she lay on the large rock, drying her hair on the hot stone. After drying her hair, she was ready to go back to dig for potatoes, yams, and ginger, as well as to collect wood ears and look for fire. After Jiang Xi left, Duan Si emerged from the forest. He slowly approached the edge of the pool and observed the pools that had not yet completely cleared. He extended his finger as if moved by a mysterious force and tasted it. The shore of the valley had a certain resemblance to the pollution of a cursed land, but was much softer and more harmless. Duan Si frowned. Who are you really? Meanwhile, Jiang Xi stood frozen upon returning to the valley, because on the shore of the valley were piles of purslane, nasturtiums, pepper, chilies, and wild grapes, so many that not even several sacks could contain them. Just then, 2 young beastmen appeared, carrying more grapes. Their faces radiated excitement. They didn't notice Jiang Xi in the valley at all. After putting down the grapes, they were getting ready to collect more. She quickly stopped them. Hello, what are you doing? The 2 young snake men turned around quickly when they heard her. Then a blush spread from their cheeks to their necks. Duan Si's lady, you're done bathing? After a brief conversation, Jiang Xi understood that they were actually helping her collect. Hello? She quickly asked them to stop. Enough, don't collect anymore. You're gonna leave the valley completely empty. Besides, even adding what's at home, we won't finish it all. Jiang Xi was frozen, her mind blank. A problem arose: how to transport everything back. Lu Feng couldn't carry it all. Young beastmen from the snake tribe came out of the forest one after another. They showed their bare torsos and covered their lower parts with skins. They all looked at Jiang Xi with bright eyes. Jiang Xi was once again shocked by the scene. Could they hide those defined abs? I can't stand it. Nekin pushed his way through the group of beastmen. He was rejected to bathe together, so his mood was still a bit down. Are you finished bathing? Jiang Xi looked at him, then observed the young beastman with bright eyes. She had no choice but to speak. Thank you, everyone. She hadn't even finished speaking when the flattered young beastmen quickly waved their hands. You're welcome. It's what we have to do. Do you need anything else? We can help you collect. Yes, I heard you only have 5 beastmen husbands. The ears of the young beastman perked up expectantly. Jiang Xi quickly interrupted, fearing that the topic would go somewhere uncontrollable. Yes, I need to collect a few more things, but 2 or 3 people will be enough. The young beastman immediately offered to help. Just as Jiang Xi was about to choose 2 of the best-looking ones, a cold voice emerged from the trees. What do you want to collect? Jiang Xi was frozen. I mean, I don't need your help. But when the other beastmen saw Duanxi appear, they quickly retreated. After all, they weren't her beastman husbands, they had no legitimate right, and in moments like these, they couldn't make decisions for her. Jiangxi looked around, seeing how all the beastmen gave way to Duanxi. She remained silent for 2 seconds. Dig something. A moment later, Jiangxi watched Duanxi digging potatoes in front of her, feeling a strange sense of unreality. His digging method was not to use a stick, but to use his supernatural power. The young man, with a cold and sinister appearance, guided a black mist emerging from his palm into the forest. Wherever that mist touched, nothing disintegrated. Seeing how the potatoes disintegrated one after another, Jiangxi couldn't contain herself anymore. Perhaps it's better if I do it myself. If we continue like this, we probably won't be able to eat anything. Duanxi frowned. You want to eat this? Can't those guys even hunt prey? His red vertical pupils showed disdain. Then he uttered 2 words. Wait for the drum? Jiangxi raised her hand to call him, but Duanxi had already disappeared into the forest. Jiangxi sighed, then found a stick, preparing to dig herself. She just scratched the ground as if stirring porridge. Nakan, with red hair and golden eyes, suddenly appeared. He also picked up a sharp stick. You want to unearth what's inside? Jiangxi nodded. It's not that. There are potatoes here. They can be stewed with meat. It smells very good. Nakan had visited the large tribes of the giant tree forest, so he knew that those beautiful females didn't like to eat meat every day. They used edible plants from the forest as a supplement. So he didn't hesitate like Duanxi and enthusiastically helped. He actively offered to help. With Nakan's help, Jiangxi soon unearthed potatoes, taro, and ginger. Nakan climbed the tree with ease. She asked him to collect more wood ears. The harvest was full, and it was time for lunch. For a long time, on the banks of the warm valley, the young beastmen brought their newly caught prey. They all invited Jiangxi to eat with them. The prey were mostly small animals like pheasants, hares, and bamboo rats. Jiangxi looked at the prey they were holding, then observed the accumulated vegetables and spices. Some ideas arose in her mind. She asked Nakan, are there stone pots in the warm valley? On, he nodded. Chun, he also nodded. You need them. I'll bring them to you. I'll take them to you. The snake beastmen never used stone pots, but in case a female visited her beastman husband in the warm valley, they kept some, although they had almost never been used. Jiangxi quickly added, bring several, please. The beastmen of the warm valley had collected so many things for her, she should also thank them a little. Since the ingredients couldn't all be taken at once, it was better to improve the food for everyone. Although the snake man didn't know what she was going to do, they simply followed her instructions. Jiangxi took a handful of watercress and prepared to wash it. Just as she was crouching by the water, the young beastmen rushed over. We'll do it. How can we let a female do this? Without giving Jiangxi time to refuse, they snatched the watercress from her hands. Then she tried to wash purslane, but they also took it from her. Potatoes, ginger, wood ears, everything. Jiangxi worked for a while without accomplishing anything. The young beastmen took all the work from her. She couldn't help but think, the beastmen of this world are so diligent. While waiting for the stone pot to be brought, Jiangxi found something good by the water. Her eyes widened. Could this be it? Jiangxi dug with a flat stone and, indeed, unearthed garlic from the ground. Oh my god, this world has too many edible things. Ingredients are not scarce at all. She searched the surroundings again and even found a cinnamon tree. Cinnamon, laurel, bay leaves, cardamom. She originally wanted to go further in to see if she could find star anise and other spices, but Nakan had already returned with others. They had brought 4 large stone pots, so she had to give up. Before cooking, she asked for help peeling the cinnamon and collecting bay leaves and cardamom. Nakan scratched his head and asked, Madame Duanxi, what should we do now? Jiangxi asked him to light the fire and cut the meat. Then she added, my name is Jiangxi. You don't need to call me Madame Duanxi all the time. You can call me by my name directly. After all, Duanxi said that come spring, she might find the golden soul fruit in a few months. She would no longer be his sacred female. Nakan smiled slightly. Then can I call you? Jiangxi, Jiangxi. Jiangxi was stunned for 2 seconds. Nakan quickly added, I see everyone calls you that. Who are those everyone? Only he knows clearly. The other beastmen were speechless, thinking he was really brazen. On the other hand, Duanxi's sacred female is too naive. Nothing like what the beastmen of the Lion Roar tribe said. Hearing his description, although it seemed a bit intimate, she still nodded slightly. All right, in that case, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. For a moment, the young beastmen looked on with envy. Before they could take advantage, Nakan quickly changed the subject. What meat are we going to cut? Slices or chunks? Under Jiang Shi's orders, the beastmen lit a pot to boil water, added purslane and wood ears, and the prey. The prey of this world are natural and free of contamination, which is why Jiang Shi didn't blanch them first. Then she added chicken fat to the second pot to melt it, added ginger, cinnamon, bay leaves, cardamom, garlic, chilies, and Sichuan pepper. She stir-fried them until they released their aroma. Then she added the chicken and stir-fried it. Add water and cook. Several pots were working simultaneously. Under Jiang Shi's direction, the beastmen worked busily, but actually enjoyed the process. They also didn't have high hopes that a delicate female could cook something tasty. But when the aromas filled the valley, all the beastmen's palates were stimulated. The young men looked from one pot to another, unable to distinguish which pot this smell came from. What is this aroma? It smells so good. I can't help but drool. What am I gonna do? The aroma is spreading throughout the valley. Even the married beastmen who hadn't come out couldn't resist peeking out their snake heads. What a delicacy! Although beastmen prefer to eat raw food, they were no longer primitive beasts after all. Their taste buds were also affected by their human nature. Jiang Shi saw that they could no longer contain themselves, and quickly remembered, you have to add salt before serving. Luckily, there is salt in this world, so she didn't have to go look for it. Jiang Shi directed the beastmen to add salt and minced garlic. A little later, the 4 stone stews were ready. Jiang Shi used banana leaves to serve portions to Lu Feng and Duan Si, then took one for herself. Although she didn't want to deal with Duan Si, she knew that he had probably gone hunting, so she saved him a portion anyway. I'm done preparing it. The young beastmen looked like hungry demons. They all rushed to serve themselves on the large leaves they were holding. Jiang Shi was sitting by the river and was left speechless by the scene. Seriously, is it that big of a deal? But the most exaggerated thing was when a beastman, after tasting it, raised his head and shouted to the sky, "It's delicious!" Jiang Shi, she thought, is it that good? Although compared to the disgusting porridge from the morning, it was much better, but it wasn't worth shouting like that. Nakan came over with a lotus leaf full of food. It was the first time he had clearly seen Jiang Shi's face without the toxic pustules, which left him stunned. Your face. But as soon as he said it, he realized how rude it sounded. He immediately apologized. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant, Jiang Shi smiled. It's okay, my face has gotten much better. I've been treating these toxic pustules, and they have already reduced quite a bit. Nakan scratched his head uncomfortably. It looks much better now. Jiang Shi was eating. Suddenly, an eagle screech resonated in the sky. A huge shadow descended from the sky. She barely looked up. The talons grabbed the black wild boar that was approaching. A loud bang echoed. The wild boar landed in the sand mites and lice. Jiang Shi watched the fierce giant eagle. It was hard for her to react. Nakan explained, Lu Feng has returned. Jiang Shi was speechless. Lu Feng, so gentle and distinguished, turns out to have such a fierce beast form. She moved forward, holding a banana leaf. Lu Feng, you're back. Transform into a beast man and let's eat together. But Lu Feng didn't transform. Instead, he bristled the feathers on his neck, slightly extended his wings, and shook his feathers quickly. For a moment, all the snake men of the valley straightened up and instinctively took a step back. Jiang Shi felt that the atmosphere in the valley suddenly became tense, like a bow ready to shoot. She looked at the giant eagle confused. Her eyes met those familiar amber eagle eyes. She took 2 steps forward, instinctively raised her hand like a sword, ready to release her special energy to calm him, because she thought that Lu Feng, just like Duan Si, was suffering an energy seizure. But Lu Feng wasn't having a seizure. On the contrary, his wings were slightly open, some of them combined, partially covering his sacred female under his wings. He looked at the young snake beastman and let out an eagle screech from his throat. His voice was filled with anger. You immodest beastman, how dare you make my sacred female cook for you? Jiang Shi had just had her face covered by soft feathers. Hearing this, she was suddenly frozen for an instant. Lu Feng seemed to be angry. Nakan rushed to explain. Lu Feng was even more enraged. We didn't let Jiang Shi do the work. She's the one in charge. She's the one who gave the orders. But if he hadn't said that, it would have been fine. Speak! Lu Feng was even more enraged. Nakan, how dare you call my female that? You have offended my female. I want to duel with you. Jiang Shi felt her mind confused. She quickly grabbed Lu Feng's wing. Don't act on impulse. They helped me collect the food. There was too much to take back, so we made a fire in the valley to cook. Besides, I didn't do anything. They did everything. The amber eagle eyes looked at Jiang Shi's face. Lu Liufeng's voice softened a little, but his tone was still firm. Helping females collect is the duty of beastmen, especially since they were all single beastmen. Besides, Lu Liufeng's voice became more grave. His eagle eyes fell on Nakan again. Even so, he has no right to offend you in that way. Jiang Shi was gently pushed outwards by a huge wing. When she was stable again, the giant eagle's feathers bristled. Its wings trembled, ready to attack, and Nakan, without anyone noticing, had transformed into a red-scaled snake, hissing with his forked tongue, preparing to attack. Jiang Shi tried to get closer, but the married beastman Gifu, the green snake, quickly stopped her. Madam Jiang Shi, Lu Liufeng's wife, don't get involved. That insolent Nakan has offended you without measuring the consequences. He must face the challenge of your beastman husbands to be worthy of continuing to court you. She was completely bewildered. When did Nakan court her? They didn't allow her to continue. The giant eagle let out a sharp screech. The giant eagle headed towards the red. 3 red scaly eyes headed towards Jiang Shi. She could only retreat. The beastmen from both sides had already entered the forest. Don't dare to interfere in the fight. Jiang Shi was internally terrified. She had vague memories of duels in her mind, but had never witnessed them directly. They were just rumors. Such a beastman for such a female fought again with the female's beastman husbands, etc. When a beastman courts a female, he is often challenged by her beastman husbands. The husbands must prove to their female that this man is not worthy of serving her. Before the marriage contract, duels are common. Thinking about this, Jiang Shi felt a strange pang of envy in her heart. It must be the original feeling. But when something like this happens in front of your eyes, Jiang Shi doesn't feel a shred of envy. Sacred female, fragrant, perfectly fine. Why did they have to fight? In Jiang Shi's anxiety, the young beastmen from both sides of the valley, probably due to the original body's feelings, began to enjoy the spectacle. Go, Nakan! Go, Nakan! Lu Liufeng, give him a beating. Jiang Shi wore an exasperated expression. Do they enjoy chaos without caring about the consequences? Jifu, on the other hand, looked happy. Good. It's been a long time since there's been so much commotion. 2 small green snakes climbed from her feet, and in childish voices, they stretched their heads towards Jiang Shi. Master Jiang Shi, Jiang Shi. Jifu frowned, grabbed the 2 little ones, and threw them into the forest with a whistle. Jiang Shi opened her mouth. She was about to say something, but swallowed it again. She witnessed the combat power of the beastmen. I'm sorry, they are still very young. Even if they want to fight, they will have to wait until next year. Jiang Shi dryly uttered 2 words. Rent. Not everything has to end in a fight. This was the first time Jiang Shi had witnessed the combat power of beastmen. Lu Liufeng's ability is wind. Nakan's ability is fire. When wind meets fire, it can fan the flames or change their direction in another direction. Besides, eagles are natural predators of snakes. Whenever Lu Liufeng wanted, he could lift Nakan and throw him from a height. But even if this was a duel, it wasn't a fight. Still, every time he dived, when his talons tore the scales of the red python, blood gushed from the reptile's body. Jiang Shi couldn't help but feel fear. The females of this world, how dare they lash out at these beastmen? Even the resistance of the weakest beastman could cost a female her life. But precisely, this seemingly illogical balance is what keeps females and beastmen firmly together. When the battle ended, the red python lay on the sand and stones. The scales were torn, leaving the flesh exposed. The giant eagle wasn't much better. With many of its beautiful feathers burned, his amber eagle eyes looked at Jiang Shi. Female master, let's go back. Jiang Shi was somewhat angry. She didn't like his violent and impulsive behavior. She didn't answer him immediately, but approached the red python. She extended her hand, and a bright green light appeared in her palm. The red python's wounds were gradually healed. Jiang Shi didn't heal it completely. She just stopped the bleeding as a warning. She wanted Nakan to learn a lesson, knowing full well there would be a fight. He's still so reckless. In Jiang Shi's memories, no one had ever called her Jiang Shi, so she didn't understand the meaning of a term of endearment. But she doesn't know. Did Nakan not know? He was simply looking for a beating. Nakan saw that she was willing to heal him. His golden snake pupils dilated brightly as he looked at her. Jiang Shi, he stammered. He barely uttered those 2 words. Jiang Shi stopped her hands. I'm leaving. Having said that, she got up directly and approached Lu Liufeng. Lu Liufeng was still in his giant eagle beast form. Seeing his female heal Nakan, his amber eagle eyes showed disappointment. But when she approached to heal him, his eyes shone again. Jiang Shi blew lightly. Don't go looking for fights randomly again. Your ability should be used against cursed beasts, not on companions. Lu Liufeng's amber eagle eyes, which had just lit up, darkened again. His voice trembled slightly. If you like Nakan, If the sacred female likes... I don't like him, Jiang Shi was direct. I've only known him since yesterday. How could I like him so soon? Lu Liufeng was stunned. But weren't the sacred female's beastman husbands all accepted after a single encounter? What does the sacred female mean by this? He couldn't fully understand it. But at the same time, he felt that he liked this change in her. Nakan's spirit cooled. He believed that by healing him, she would agree to take him as a husband. But he didn't expect that she had no such idea at all. She had healed 2 beastmen in a row. Added to the healing during her bath, her internal energy was completely exhausted, so exhausted that she staggered. Lu Liufeng held her with his wings. He asked, "Do you want to rest for a while, ma'am?" Jiang Shi shook her head. She just wanted to sleep at that moment. "Let's go home. We won't go to bathe in the hot springs either. I just bathed in the hot springs in the valley." The ingredients were packed in large and small beast-hide bags. Although a large amount was consumed at noon, there was still too much to fit. They would have to take care of it themselves. Anyway, at noon, she had already taught them how to do it. The wild boar that Lu Liufeng hunted weighed about 100 kilos. Added to the almost 50 kilos of ingredients collected in the valley, it was about 150 kilos in total. Jiang Shi couldn't help but worry. Can you carry it all back? When we return, have Mu Lin and Jifu come to carry these things. Everyone will eat them, even if we don't agree in private. In moments like these, they should contribute. Lu Liufeng shook his huge eagle head. Lu Liufeng can do it! It's okay! Jiang Shi had no choice but to trust him. After all, he was a beastman with special abilities. Lu Liufeng crouched down for his female to get on. Jiang Shi climbed on. She hadn't even settled down when Nakan, regaining his beast form, suddenly spoke. Aye. When spring comes, I will go to the Lion Roar tribe. Jiang Shi hesitated for 2 seconds until she remembered he was from the Constrictor Snake tribe. His attitude, even Jiang Shi perceived, was directed towards her. She felt somewhat embarrassed. It wasn't that she hadn't received proposals before, but never one so brazen. For a moment, Jiang Shi didn't know how to respond. She carefully pondered her words, looking for how to reject him without hurting his pride. But she hadn't even thought it through when the giant eagle under her flapped its wings, lifting her while holding the 150 kilograms wild boar and the supplies. It soared directly into the sky. Jiang Shi quickly grabbed the feathers underneath her. When her body stabilized, they were already flying at a great height. Nakan in the valley below became a small red dot. She murmured, Lu Liufeng, I'm not finished talking. Because of the wind noise at a great height, Lu Liufeng couldn't hear her murmur. But Lu Liufeng not only heard it, but also replied, I'm sorry, I thought my lady was finished. Besides, it's getting late, so he didn't finish saying what was left because Jiang Shi had forgiven him. It's nothing. If you didn't finish, it doesn't matter. It wasn't important anyway. Lu Liufeng's amber eagle eyes shone. If he said he did it on purpose, he was also afraid that his lady would actually accept Nakan. Especially at this moment when his lady decided to concentrate when she broke the marriage contract with them. Lu Liufeng felt that he had changed. To live, but for the sake of his wife, he was willing to be a little naughty. Warm valley. Desolate valley. When Duansai returned with the deer in his mouth, everything was already over. It wasn't that he hadn't perceived the energy fluctuations, but he had just found a deer and was delayed, which is why he was late. His scarlet snake eyes scrutinized the area. What happened here? A beast man approached with a package wrapped in a banana leaf. When Duansai returned with the deer in his teeth, this is the lunch your sacred female left you. Do you want to eat it? If you don't eat... The beastman hadn't finished speaking. Duansai extended his hand and took it. There was a fight here. The energy in the air hasn't completely dissipated. He could feel it. It contains Lu Liufeng's wind energy, and another joyful one. But who he didn't recognize for a moment, the beastman scratched his head and murmured, Nakan was courting your wife. Lu Liufeng fought with him. Duansai frowned. What else? The Lu Liufeng he knew was not such a jealous and combative orc. It's impossible to fight with Nakan over something so trivial. Besides, all of them longed for their female's attention to be distracted by other beastmen. Other beastmen courting her was a good thing for them. The young beastman stammered, Your female taught us how to prepare lunch. Nakan called her Jiang Ji. Without needing more words, Duansai instantly understood what had happened. His gaze scrutinized the messy valley, and his expression turned somber. This is a challenge to me. Where is Nakan? Duansai had a somber face. Go to Nakan's cave. Upon arriving and seeing Nakan, bloody and bruised, he said coldly, I won't take advantage of you. When you recover, you will fight me. Nakan's wounds only seemed terrifying, but under Jiang Shi's treatment, the bleeding stopped, and he was almost recovered. He came out directly. I accept your challenge. We can start right now. Jiang Shi has already treated me. Duanxi narrowed his red eyes. Then let's see if you have the ability to do it. The Lion Roar Tribe. Lu Lifeng carried his sacred female and flew directly towards the tribe. When he flew over his house, he shouted down, "Jifu! Jifu! Something's wrong!" Having said that, he carried his sacred female and flew back to the entrance of the tribe and landed. He circled once. He attracted many to come out and look. "Lu Lifeng, where did you hunt such a big wild boar? It's been a long time since anyone in the tribe hunted one." Without exchanging many words, the beastmen took 2 steps back in unison because they saw the female sitting on Lu Liufeng's back. Zhang Xi rubbed her eyes, still stunned. Oh, her psychic energy was exhausted. She was too tired. She had fallen asleep on Lu Lifeng's back. Until the beastmen spoke. Only then did she wake up, stunned. Isn't that Jing Qi? How can she leave home with Lu Lufeng? Unacceptable. I guess she went to bathe in the warm springs of the warm valley. Poor Lu Lufeng, and he still flies so far to carry her and endures so much for her. Jiang Shi slowly got off the giant eagle. She was completely stunned and out of it. Until the giant eagle went behind a house. When her vision became clear, her eyes widened. She suddenly regained her lucidity. She quickly turned her back. Lu Liufeng, seriously, how can you transform without warning, and how can you do it in plain sight, transforming completely naked? Although his body is really impressive, God, but she saw it. Zhang Ji's cheeks were hot. The blood rushed in waves. Her mind was full of the images she had just seen. The young man had pale and cold skin. He was tall and long-legged. His muscles had defined and harmonious lines. Jiang Shi's cheeks flushed. Lu Liufeng, dressed in beast hides, and came out without changing his expression. Seeing that his sacred female had her back to him, he still had the delicacy to say, "Sacred female, wait a moment." Mu Lin and Gifu arrived quickly. Although the 150 kilos were not a problem for him, there were several beast hide bags. His talons could grab them, but when transforming into a beast, it's not so comfortable to carry everything at once. Jiang Shi murmured something unintelligible. Then a dark-skinned female approached. "Wow, Brother Liufeng, you're amazing. You hunted this wild boar, and you also got the food in the bags?" Jiang Shi, understanding, gave Liufeng a little space, not interfering in him finding another partner. But Lu Liufeng got even closer to her and said with pride in his voice, "I hunted wild boars, but the food inside the beast hide sack was found by the sacred female in the warm valley." The female gave a disdainful look at Jiang Shi. "Brother Liufeng, who is she? Who in the tribe doesn't know? You don't need to defend her." "You're wrong." The beastman next to her pulled her. "Look, don't say any more. That's enough. Don't let them start fighting again." The female named Nana frowned. He pulled his hand away and grumbled, "Now I have taken you as a wife. You must call me sacred female, not my name." Jiang Shi was stunned for 2 seconds. She finally reacted. This female was provoking her. Although she didn't like to argue, she was not someone who let herself be easily manipulated. "You mean," she slightly raised her chin, "you will have a good life. Speak with more respect. I'm still here, and you're already seducing my beastman husband in front of everyone, who only mistreats and humiliates your beastman husbands. What are you trying to do? Are your beastman husbands not satisfying you?" Hearing this, Nana's face instantly turned red. Due to her dark skin, it turned dark red. Nanasi shouted furiously, "How dare you slander me? You're an evil female who only mistreats and beats your beastman husbands. They won't have a good life with you." Jiang Shi raised her hands in an indifferent gesture. "So you mean that if they are with you, they will have a good life? How could one beastman husband not be enough for you, and you want all of mine? Is your appetite so great? Can you handle them?" Nana Si, with a reddened face, pointed at her. You! Jiang Shi tilted her head. Her tone was still exasperating. "How could I? What's wrong with me? Do you want to hit me? My beastman husbands can accept the challenge. If an irreconcilable conflict arose between females, their beastman husbands can resolve it with a duel." This memory suddenly arose in Jiang Shi's mind. Her beastman husbands, because of her disastrous affairs, had been forced to accept countless challenges from other warriors. Mu Lin and Yu Yuxi had arrived a while ago. They had been watching from the crowd. What they didn't expect was their female, who used to only shout. A female who would lash out to hit others at the slightest disagreement, had learned to defend herself with words. The one who was now shouting, instead, had become Nana Si. Suddenly, Lu Lifeng stepped forward. "I accept the duel. I will fight." The crowd fell silent instantly. Lu Lifeng voluntarily accepting a duel for his female? Wasn't he the one who hated this kind of fighting the most? Jiang Shi was also frozen. She only wanted to use his influence to assert herself. In reality, she didn't want to fight for real. But she wasn't tormented by that. Nanasai took the initiative to resolve the situation. She kicked the ground and said angrily, stomped the ground with rage, and shouted, "Wait and see!" Having said this, she fled in disarray. Jiangxi quickly added in a loud voice, "I'll be waiting for you." Throwing threats, anyone can do that. Lu Lifeng didn't quite understand. Does that mean they want to fight or not? Confused, he looked down at his female. About to speak, Jiangxi quickly stopped him. "We'll talk about this when we get back." She didn't want him to be fighting every day. It hurts a lot when you get injured. Problems that can be resolved by talking are better not to be resolved with blood. Mulin and Yu Yushi exchanged a look. He pushed his way through the crowd. Yu Yushi still had his arrogant attitude, ignoring his female with fox eyes full of seduction. "Stupid female, come and flatter me." But Jiangxi didn't even give him a glance. Seeing two people appear, she quickly asked them to carry the skin sacks. "Come and help, there's food inside." Remembering Mulin's words in the morning about being picky about food, she couldn't help but say, "Let me show you dinner. What real good food is." Mulin remained silent, neither affirming nor denying, because he saw the hemp poking out of the torn skin sack. Can this really be eaten? But even if he wanted to annul the marriage contract before it was completely resolved, he wouldn't humiliate his female in public. After all, nobody wants to be beaten. If a beastman attacks him, he can fight back. If another female hits him, he can dodge. But if it's his female, he can only endure. Yu Yushi saw it and frowned with disdain. "Isn't this purple nettle that causes itching?" Mulin carried 2 bags. Jiangxi explained, Lu Lifeng had already captured a well-prepared head beast. "It's delicious for both dishes and desserts." Yu Yuji was about to say more, but Yu Yuji said, Lu Lifeng had already put a skin beast on his shoulder. "If the sacred female orders you to move it, do it. Stop talking nonsense." There were 3 skin sacks in total. Mulin carried 2 bags, Yu Yuji carried 1, while Lu Lifeng carried the wild boar. The beastmen and female spectators made way. Among them, some clearly saw the yams sticking out. None believed they were edible. They began to murmur. Jiangxi didn't bother to explain. Explaining too much is a waste of breath. Those who don't believe will never believe. When the time comes, they will believe for themselves. Back home, Mulin and Yu Yuji carried the skin sacks to the kitchen corner and left them there. Lu Lifeng went to the river behind the house to prepare the wild boar. Jiangxi feared he would throw away the wild boar's organs and intestines, so she quickly went after him to warn him. The surface of the river behind the house had already frozen. Lu Lifeng had just used his supernatural power to part the water when he heard his wife's footsteps approaching. Lu Lifeng just used his supernatural power to open a path and get water. Don't throw away the wild boar's organs or intestines. Cleaned, they can be cooked. Lu Lifeng had a strange look on his face. The organs, he could understand them, but the intestines? We're not that desperate to eat that. Jiangxi was about to laugh inappropriately. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that well washed, they can be prepared as a dish. They are very tasty. Besides, we got the seasonings today in the Warm Valley. Lu Lifeng hesitated for 2 seconds. Okay. But then he hesitated again. How should I prepare them? Jiangxi already had the answer ready. First, turn the intestines inside out and wash them once. Mulin, this helps eliminate the bad odors. Mulin peeked his head from behind the cabin. Instead, he noticed a familiar but strange word. After asking, he looked at Jiangxi. Sacred female, ma'am. Are those the ashes from burned branches, leaves, dry grass, and other plants? Although he didn't believe it was edible, he stood behind the cabin and called out to Mulin. Mulin, burn some dry grass to make me some ashes. Mulin peeked his head from behind the cabin. What are you trying to do? Then he looked at Jiangxi. Sacred female, ma'am, what do we do with the things from the beast hide bag? Although he didn't believe it was edible. Since they had brought it, he couldn't let the lady handle it. After Lu Lifeng explained the purpose, Jiangxi quickly entered the cabin. I'll do it! But she had barely entered when she poked her head out of the fence and shouted at Lu Lifeng. Lu Lifeng, think for a moment. Separate the fat. I'll use it to make lard and soap. It was when Lu Lifeng looked back that the female's figure had already disappeared. Although he didn't understand it, Jiangxi returned to the kitchen. She loved the life she was leading now, full of vitality, making every day in the cursed land less unbearable. Jiangxi returned to the kitchen and saw Mulin crouched in front of a stone fire pit, burning vegetable ashes. So she said, Mulin, do a little more. Save me a part, it will be useful. As she spoke, she was squatting in the corner, unpacking the animal hide bag, taking out ingredients, and calculating what she would cook that night. Braised pig trotters with potatoes, stir-fried meat with mushrooms, garlic ribs, fried liver, pork stew, cold purslane, fried taro, and celery. The pig's head can also be preserved in brine. The fat is used to make lard. Thinking about the fat, she quickly asked Mulin, "Do you have shells?" Mulin was burning dry grass, nodding absently. "Then could you burn some for me and then grind them into a powder?" Mulin was startled and came to his senses, staring at her. Jiangxi blinked. "Is there a problem? Shells can produce quicklime, and plant ashes can make lye. Both are essential for making soap." Mulin looked at her strangely, but although he didn't ask any more questions, if you say they need to be burned, they'll be burned. In the Cursed Land, everything is exchanged. Shells are not used as currency. Jiangxi didn't remember at all that shells were the currency of the sacred city. Since she arrived at the Cursed Land, she had never used money. Her recent memories were all about bartering goods. Mulin quickly burned, saved half of the vegetable ashes, and sent the other half to Lu Lifeng. He observed Lu Liufeng separating the fat from the lean meat. He couldn't help but say, "Don't you think our sacred female acts strangely? It's as if she has completely changed." Lu Liufeng paused briefly. His amber eyes narrowed slightly. He continued separating the fat from the lean meat. He said naturally, "Maybe a little. But I think it's a good thing. He likes the sacred female as she is now." If it were appropriate, before leaving in the morning, he was still confused. He doubted whether he should, like them, go look for the golden fruit to annul the marriage contract. But after returning from the warm valley, he has decided not to dissolve the marriage. He believes that life this way is good, comfortable, and he likes it a lot. Mulin stood by the river, crossing his arms, lost in thought. If it weren't for the marriage contract still being in effect, I would also start to suspect that the sacred female has been replaced by another person. Lu Liufeng's eyes shone slightly. Why think so much? The sacred female has already promised to annul the marriage contract. Wouldn't it be better for you to focus on looking for the golden soul fruit? On the 15th of each month, the power of the curse is weaker. If you're sure, you could venture into the Cursed Land or consult with Wulun about how he manages not to be contaminated. Wulun is the beast man of the sacred female's golden lion tribe, one of the most powerful clans in the sacred city. Mulin only had the golden soul fruit in mind and didn't notice Lu Liufeng's careful words. You, focus on looking, instead of we, concentrate on looking. Mulin didn't stay long. He returned to the house to help the sacred female with those strange ingredients. He returned to the patio and saw that the sacred female was washing alone. He frowned and walked to a room on the right and knocked on the door. From inside, Yu Shi's voice was heard. "Therefore, in the sacred city platform, we are not obligated to support you. The sacred female is toiling outside." His blue-like ice fox eyes narrowed. His arrogance was irritating. "And," Yu Shi rolled his eyes, "this isn't in the holy city. You're already married. Even if the sacred female agreed to annul the marriage contract before the marriage is dissolved, you are not fulfilling your obligations as a beastman husband. We are not obligated to support you. The female is outside working tirelessly. While you rest here, does that seem right to you?" Yu Shi rolled his eyes. "Did I ask her to do it? What does it have to do with me?" He was used to being pampered both in the sacred city and in other places. Lu Liufeng and Mulin were often beaten. But he, with his exceptional beauty, never received such punishment, so his arrogance grew without limits. He didn't even deign to look at them, much less help. Mulin snorted with disdain. "Preferably with a thermal lining. How interesting. Don't eat what we hunt." He saw Yu Ji come out furiously, slamming the door shut. Jiangxi was washing potatoes in a barrel of water. Mountain potatoes. Cold water washing potatoes. Her gaze shifted. The water left her hands reddened by the cold. While washing, she longed for rubber gloves. It would be better to add a layer of fleece inside. Suddenly, a door was heard slamming in the patio. Jiangxi looked confused, and then, as he passed, he gave her a glance. Jiangxi frowned. "Are you okay?" She looked away. She saw Mulin with his arms crossed next to the door with a cold face. Jiangxi understood. They had argued. How interesting, like watching a soap opera. She turned her head and continued scrubbing the potatoes. Mulin approached. When he was about to help, he saw her fingers reddened by the cold. He was stunned. Was this the sacred female he remembered? "I'll do it." Jiangxi didn't need to be asked. She let him wash the potatoes while she took out the seasonings to wash them. When they finished washing the ingredients, Lu Liufeng had already prepared the wild boar. Jiangxi noticed that the hair on the pig's head and feet was not well cleaned. She asked him to pass them through the fire and then scrape and wash them with water. Lu Liufeng was surprised. "You can do it that way too?" he thought. Seeing how concentrated Mulin was, he felt a desire to participate. He offered to help cut the pork and others into the cuts that the sacred female wanted. As there was only one fire pit, for the convenience of cooking, they prepared 2 more. They placed stone pots, lit the fire, and cooked. Jiangxi first prepared the spice broth: water, ginger, pepper, garlic, cinnamon, bay leaves, cardamom, chilies, and salt. Slow cooking. Then, she used the second pot to blanch the pig's heart, lung, stomach, and intestines with ginger to eliminate the smell. Take them out and put them in the first pot and start cooking them slowly over low heat. She was worried that the flavors would mix, so she didn't add the pig's head meat to the stew. After preparing to eat, she would use another pot to cook the mushrooms slowly. The stew needs sugar, but in her memories, there was no trace of sugar. Jiangxi asked aloud, "Is there honey at home?" Lu Liufeng had already scraped and washed the singed pig's feet. Hearing her, he returned. "Go look! There's no honey at home." He took a pork leg. He was going to exchange it for honey with the bear beastmen on the other side of the tribe. While waiting for the exchange, she waited for them to finish in the pot of braised pork water. The aroma had begun to emerge. Mulin, who at first didn't believe it, was gradually surprised. His gaze towards the sacred female changed. He watched carefully. They were more and more different. Jiangxi fried the pork fat to extract its oil. Once fried, she removed it. Add honey to caramelize it. Lu Lifeng and Mulin tried to help her fry, but she feared that due to inexperience, they would burn the caramel. So she did it herself while she cooked and taught them. The color of the fried food is in this reddish-brown tone. At this moment, we put the pig's trotters. Bathe in caramel, caramelize the sugar, then add ginger, garlic, cinnamon, bay leaves, and chilies to flavor. When the spices were added, the fragrance spread. Lu Liufeng had never tasted food from the warm valley. It was the first time he discovered that these herbs could be used for cooking. He and Mulin looked on in amazement and exchanged a look, but no one dared to interrupt the sacred female's teaching. Jiangxi quite liked cooking, mainly because the food in the cafeteria during the apocalypse was indescribable, so she had no choice but to do it herself. Cafeteria. The river waters where Mulin returned were already beginning to overflow, but "You can eat later." Jiangxi mercilessly refused. "It's not allowed now." She added clean water that completely covered the pig's feet, then cooked them over low heat for a while. Since she didn't have a suitable accompaniment, she would later add potatoes. Braised pig trotters with potatoes. Both pots were boiling, so she lit a third, mainly to prepare some stir-fried dishes. Garlic ribs, meat with wood ears, stir-fried pork liver, and taro with tea. Since she really couldn't handle everything, Jiangxi didn't prepare purslane in a cold salad. While cooking, she asked Lu Liufeng to roast the pig kidneys and intestines over the fire. Just a pinch of salt can bake a delicious flavor. Lu Liufeng and Mulin tried this flavor for the first time. Both of their eyes shone instantly. Mulin especially couldn't contain himself. He pretended to be a cold type. Mulin wasn't that difficult to deal with after all, moving quickly from side to side. Jiangxi was frozen for a moment, unable to help but smile. Mulin wasn't that difficult to deal with after all. On the surface, he seemed like a cold type. Deep down, he was still a wolf cub. "Give me something delicious, and I'll wag my tail." Lu Liufeng was a bit more reserved, but he was covered in toxic pustules and also showed complete satisfaction. He cut the roasted kidneys with his wind blades and personally offered them to the female. "Eat too, owner." Jiangxi held a makeshift spatula carved from wood in one hand, holding the seasoning in the other. She didn't have free hands, so she opened her mouth without thinking much. Lu Liufeng fed her. Her soft lips brushed his fingers. Lu Liufeng's amber eyes blinked rapidly. Then he naturally withdrew his hand.